Hare Krishna, everybody, welcome.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Welcome. This is Krishna Dasa.
Hare Krishna.
Today we are going to cover Shlokas 5.14 to 5.17. And before we begin, let's say the prayer to Guru and God. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militamene Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna.
गुरु विष्णु देवो महेश्वरा गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री
गुरुवे नमः।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So Simran is not here. So Deepaji, you're going to read today? Okay. So I'll start playing the slokas. You can point your Bhagavad Gita to 5.14.
न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानं येषां नाशितमात्मनः तेषामादित्यवज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम् तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानस्तन्निष्ठास्तत्परायणाः गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिं ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः.
Hare Krishna. You can start, Deepaji.
Hare Krishna. Verses 5.14. The embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. 5.15. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activity. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. 5.16. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything, as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. 5.17. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. And 5.18.
No, 5.17. We are doing only till 5.17.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Thank you. So let's spend a quick minute of. I see one, somebody called 1 plus CPH2569. Who is that? You will figure out. We have a
Hare Krishna is Diksha.
Diksha. Okay. It's a new phone. Welcome. Okay.
Okay.
I just want to make sure nobody is in the wrong meeting. Okay. So thank you for reading.
No, correct meeting. Thank you.
Okay. So in the previous session, Krishna spoke about Navadvare Pure Dehi. If you remember, the body he spoke as Navadvare, which is the body. 9 gates, exactly. And then Krishna said that we should not have a sense of ownership or doership. I hope you all remember that. Then the natural question that would follow is, then who is the doer? Is God totally responsible for all our actions? That's the natural question. So that's where we start with from 5.14. Let us see how Krishna explains those concepts very beautifully. So Krishna says that we think we are the doers, but we are not. No, in today's generation, it's very difficult, but at least in our generation, we used to have, the Katputli, the puppet shows. I don't know if any one of you have seen it. At least in movies or TV, you may have seen it. So You can see the puppets are dancing. Sometimes they even make them talk, and so it may seem like the puppets are performing the action, but because we have the intellect and we know exactly what's going on, we know that it's not the puppets, but there is a puppeteer who is controlling them. But the kids who don't have this intelligence, they will actually believe that it's the puppet which is dancing, the puppet which is talking, and they get all engrossed. In fact, that's what makes it enjoyable for them. The moment they understand that, oh, it is just a show, they lose interest. Similarly, we may feel we are in control of our actions. We even think we are in control of the outcomes. That's even one level higher, but then Krishna is reminding us, he's telling us that there is a greater cosmic play at work, which is influenced by the modes of nature. So just like the puppets are not the actual doers, and there is a puppeteer who is moving the strings, even we are all influenced by gunas. The gunas are the driving force behind our actions. So fundamentally, that is one of the reasons why Krishna says you should not have a sense of doership. No? And he also has said we should not have a sense of ownership either. Ownership is more easy to understand because everything belongs to God. Everything belongs to, like, you don't own the earth. If you don't own the earth, how can you own anything that grows on earth? How can you own anything that is made out of earth? So in effect, you don't own anything, right? So, but doership is a little more difficult concept to get out of, because it is more difficult to get out of this thought that we are the doer. But then it is required, and Krishna is explaining it very beautifully. Then the natural question comes, okay, I'm not the doer. So then some people conveniently will immediately say, oh, that means then God is the doer. God is responsible for all actions. No, there is a big risk in this particular belief, because the moment somebody says God is responsible, then suddenly you say then all the bad things that you do, all the sin that you commit, everything now becomes God's responsibility, because, oh, God is responsible. God is doing all the actions. But does that make sense? Why does it not make sense? Why doesn't it make sense that God is directly controlling all our actions? Because if God was directly controlling our actions, and by definition God is perfect, if by definition God is perfect, then God's actions would always be perfect. So if God was controlling our actions, everything we do will be perfect. There will be nothing imperfect. If that was the case, then what is the need for Vedanta, Dharma, Adharma, all this knowledge? And why would Krishna take all these efforts to teach, what is the right way to live? None of that would have been required, right? If God was directly holding your hands and making you do the actions. Okay, so then we are not the doer. Krishna himself has said that. God is not the doer. We just discussed that. Then who is the doer? So that is the mystery. And that is where Krishna is explaining in these verses. He says, the main contributor or the main influencer for all our actions is our gunas. Does anybody remember what the gunas are?
Gunas.
Okay,
Rajas,
Lakshmi ji knows. Who else? Deepa ji, Smita ji, Suchita ji. Awesome. Okay, Kalpana also raised her hands. So that's nice. So 3 gunas. Sattva, tamas and rajas. Or sattva, rajas and tamas. So sattva is goodness, rajas is passion, and tamas is ignorance. See, later on in the 14th chapter, Krishna will go a lot into details on the gunas. He will pretty much do a PhD thesis on the gunas. But for now, let us understand that our body, our mind, our actions, everything are impacted and made up of these 3 gunas. And it is the ignorance which causes us to not realize this. Because of our ignorance, we don't realize that the gunas are the driving force, and we think we are the doers. So when we say the gunas, It is what Krishna will call as your inner nature, which is driving most of our behavior. These are all very important concepts. This. See, for example, animals, they are entirely driven by their inner nature. Like if a goat looks at a grass, it has to go and eat it. Or if a dog looks at a certain thing, it has to bark. And if a lion looks at something, it has to go pounce on it. So basically, they all have their inner nature, and they are totally influenced by that. Why does one animal behave in one way, another animal behave in another way? It is not because they have different belief systems, right? It's nothing like that. It is just they have different nature, different inner nature, and that makes them do certain things. And they are bound by it. They are driven completely by that. And this, when we say nature or the gunas, it is not anything external. It is deep within us. It is intrinsic to us. And that is what drives us to do all actions. I mean, actions means it doesn't necessarily have to be some unique action. Even simple action like eating, drinking, they are all also actions. And they are also driven by our gunas. But what we have to understand that humans also have a higher aspect to us, which is more conscious, more intelligent. And humans have the capability to distinguish between actions that are caused primarily due to the inner nature versus actions that are caused by a higher level of consciousness. And we can distinguish that. We can differentiate that. So this is what some of us have been part of Bhakti Sutra classes, and there we discuss the same thing. Naradji uses different words for that. So the basic nature, the instinct or the basic inner nature, that is what is called as the apara prakriti. Maybe that term is familiar now. And the higher intelligent nature, that is called as para prakriti. So para prakriti and apara prakriti. They are both nature, one is higher, one is lower. And the lower one is more about instincts, more about, impulse. And the higher one is more about evolution. It's more about conscious choices. So if you read the Bhagavad Gita, if you understand the essence, and if you try to do things differently, that is your para prakriti. Now let us take an example. Let us say, somebody comes and insults. For example, somebody comes in front of us and somebody says, "You are an idiot." Most of the times, I mean, especially we are not on the spiritual path, the first reaction is, "How dare? How dare you call me idiot? You are the idiot, your entire family is idiot." That is the first reaction. That is a natural reaction. That is what is your apara prakriti. Because sometimes we say something, we do something, and then we ask ourselves, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Have you not caught yourself sometimes doing or saying something that you really didn't agree with later on? So that you did without much thought, without much, wisdom. And that is your lower nature. That is your apara prakriti. But then, based on all the knowledge that you have, based on the wisdom that you have developed, you have a choice. So when somebody calls you an idiot or any other negative word, there is an impulse to react equally badly, dirtily, but then you catch yourself, you pause. And then you try to think, you try to react differently, correct? That aspect is your para prakriti. So I hope this concept becomes very clearer. Okay. Now, what is the challenge? The challenge is to always choose to use your para prakriti instead of apara prakriti. Because para prakriti needs a lot of efforts. It needs awareness. It needs conscious efforts. Whereas apara prakriti doesn't need efforts. It's always active 24/7. That is why it is more difficult to exercise para prakriti. But that is what we have to keep practicing all the time. Needless to say, we are all a mix. Nobody is 100% para prakriti or 100% apara prakriti. Everybody is a mix of both. And, we have to just realize that we have a mix of both. And whenever possible, we need to keep a watch. Deepaji, you remember the first pragma? What is it? Because that's your favorite pragma.
Inner saboteur?
Yes. Yes. We have to keep a watch on the inner saboteur because the inner saboteur is always active. So what exactly is that inner saboteur? That is what Krishna is defining here. That is our apara prakriti, the lower nature, which is driven by impulses, emotions. So we have to keep a check on that all the time. And in other words, whenever we say that is a person's swabhava, in our culture, people use the word very often. They say, uska swabhava aisa hai. So whenever you are using the term swabhava in this way to justify somebody's bad behavior, that is the apara prakriti in action. The thing to keep in mind is, in any person, if the apara prakriti is dominant always, or in the majority of circumstances, if their apara prakriti is dominant, that is what leads to criminal and sinful activities. So why do some people commit crimes? It's basically because they are controlled and governed and dictated by their apara prakriti. They have not put in the conscious efforts to listen to the para prakriti. That is the technical explanation. So Krishna is emphasizing that, the divine or the divine God doesn't dictate our actions. It's in fact, it is all based on our own prakriti, inner nature, which is causing that. Now the challenge is to recognize, then use the wisdom based on Krishna's teachings. It's okay, perfectly okay. Some people feel bad, There have been people who have spoken to me and told me, no, sir, what should I do? I feel very guilty that many times I have these bad thoughts, or I have this, violent tendencies or whatever. And I tell them, that means you are alive. Having a bad thought or having a negative tendency doesn't mean there is something wrong with you. That just means you are at least aware of your lower nature. You are at least aware of your apara prakriti. Now, what we need to do is use the knowledge that we have and understand that now it is our job to keep a watch on that and don't let it become dominant. Exercise your intellect and your free will. And you have to understand that this is pretty much what makes humans unique. Why do we glorify humanity so much? Because if you are proud of how fast you can run, there are animals that can run faster than you. If you are proud of how much you can lift, there are animals which can lift more than you. You think of any faculty, there is always somebody else or some other creature which can be better than you. But the one thing that animals can't do is they cannot have this discrimination. And they cannot say that, oh, this is lower nature, this is higher nature. I should, control the lower nature and I should do something different. That is only possible for humans. That is why it is such a precious birth that we have. We also spoke about this somewhat. So Krishna says that it is ignorance which is causing us to not realize this, and so how do we take care of this? And also in 3rd chapter, Krishna spoke about the same thing. Maybe you can take a note and then read later. It is 3.27, where Krishna said, Prakruteha kriyamanani guneha karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Where Krishna said that all actions in all respects are driven by the 3 modes of nature, but the soul, because we are deluded by ego, we think we are the doer. We are part of nature, so there are a lot of things that we unknowingly do because of nature. For example, you are digesting your food and you are not consciously doing it, right? It just happens. Or you are extracting oxygen from the air, that you are not consciously doing that. It just happens, correct? So you are not even conscious of so many things that is happening within us. They are all actions only, na? Breaking your food down, that is also action. Taking oxygen, expelling carbon dioxide, they are all actions only. You don't even know they are happening, so how can you be in control? So that is another aspect. Krishna is saying that so many things happens. Observe and understand that it is all caused by the gunas. Prakriti is responsible for that. So it's an interesting word Krishna has used there. Ahankara vimuda atma. So the muda means foolish or deluded. Vimuda means utterly foolish. So Krishna is being very forceful here. He's saying it is the utterly foolish who are under the mode of ignorance and ahankar. Ahankar is this false ego and identity. That makes them think they are the doers. It is your ahankar which makes you believe, I am doing this, I am doing this, I am the doer. So what is the message for us is the true knowledge and understanding gets hidden or obscured by ignorance. And the ignorance is the cause of our misunderstanding, where we don't understand the actual mechanics of neither the material nature nor the spiritual nature. Like many of us have driven a car and it suddenly gets foggy. I'm sure many of us have faced that. And suddenly we cannot see. It's very foggy and it's very common. Some common phrase is, I cannot see anything, but then we immediately understand that we cannot see because there is nothing wrong with the road. The problem is there is fog which is covering the mirror or the windshield. We understand that and we go wipe it and we know how to take care of that. The same thing is we cannot see clearly the mechanism of material nature, spiritual nature, because we are covered by the fog of ignorance. And why are we not able to clear that fog quickly, the way we clear the fog from the windshield? Because of our ahankar, ego. The ego does not let you acknowledge that your windshield is full of fog. So this is a very beautiful science that Krishna is telling us. First, Krishna is telling us what the problem is. Then Krishna is telling us what the solution is. And then he is telling us what prevents us from going for the solution. So he is giving us all pieces of knowledge, and at the end of the day, now it is up to us to take this knowledge and do what is required. So how do we get rid of this ignorance? That is where the purification comes, where Krishna has kept on repeating, self-purification, self-purification. As long as we are not purified, our ignorance will not let us seek divine knowledge. And it is only through divine knowledge that we can clear our ignorance and achieve self-realization. So the analogy given is like the sun's rays. The sun is shining, but if there is a cloud, the sun rays don't reach us. It doesn't mean the sun is not shining. The sun is still shining. When the cloud goes away, you see the sunlight. Just like that. This ignorance is covering the divine knowledge. See, you should pay attention to how Krishna is phrasing all of this. What Krishna is saying is, our ignorance is clouding our divine knowledge. In other words, he is telling us that we already have divine knowledge. It's a very, very important takeaway. So because this is the essence of Vedanta. Like when we say Vedanta, this is the core essence of Vedanta. Where Vedanta says that all humans are inherently pure. All humans are inherently, they have the divine knowledge. They have the pure consciousness within them. But it is clouded by ignorance. So our job is to get rid of the ignorance. That is why, if you remember, even in the previous chapter when Krishna said, use your intellect, first step karma yoga, do your duties. Then use your intellect to convert that karma to nishkama karma. And then he said the nishkama karma, when you start doing, devotion will automatically come. And then some of us had this question, automatically come, but where is it coming from? And here Krishna is beautifully saying, it is all within you already. You are a divine soul. You are a pure soul. You have divine knowledge. Everything is within you. But this ignorance is covering all of that, clouding all of that. And it is the ahankar which is not letting you acknowledge that is the problem. As long as you think you are perfect. If you think you are perfect, how can you ever learn anything new? Because if you are perfect, there is nothing to be learned. That is a problem. So this is what is called Prakriti. So when we say Prakriti in the Bhagavad Gita, at least, the Bhagavad Gita, the word Prakriti, where it is used, it doesn't just mean the physical world. It means both these dimensions we just spoke about. It means the Para Prakriti as well as Apara Prakriti. We will experience both all the time. We just have to be consciously aware of which one is being dominant at which given instance. So any time that you are, there is no formula, but I can give some guidelines that anytime you are acting out of selfishness, you are acting out of self-pity, or you are acting out of anger, cruelty, if all of these are happening, that means it is the Apara Prakriti which is dominant. We should realize that is what is going on. Okay. And whenever you are acting out of love and compassion, positivity, then that means your Para Prakriti is gaining dominance. So these are all indications we have to keep a watch for. And collectively, this energy itself, the energy of nature, collectively is what is known as Shakti. I mean, it is not directly important to understand Bhagavad Gita, but I'm giving you some additional context. So, in our Vedanta, whenever we say Shakti, this is what it means. Shakti is that energy behind Prakriti, and Prakriti itself means Para Prakriti, Apara Prakriti. So, Sri Ramakrishna also, he used to teach that the universe is existing only because of the play of Shakti. That is what he teaches. And he says that when we are in deep meditation, then we can realize this truth. Until then, we will just be under its influence. And Ramakrishna used to say that the Shakti can either enlighten you or it can delude you. They are both energies only. And if we are acting out of consciousness based on divine knowledge and humility and devotion and all of that, then the Shakti will always work positively for you. It will always help you properly. It's like when you're sailing, you're using a boat and you are sailing. If you set the sails to align with the flow of the wind, then that wind is going to help you. It is going to take you to your destination. But if you are setting the sail the opposite way, that wind is only going to be your enemy. It is not the mistake of the wind. It is a mistake of your sail, how you are setting the sail. Just like that, Shakti in itself will never mean harm. But if you are not aligned, then it's always going to feel like, the universe is against you. In 5.17, Shri Krishna says, those whose intellect is fixed in God, who are wholly absorbed in God, who have firm faith in God, their ignorance and impurities are cleaned by the light of divine knowledge, and then they attain moksha. Such a assurance, wonderful assurance. See, there is one thing that you have to also understand is, Krishna has said this very clearly, that divine knowledge is like fire, and that divine knowledge can also burn away your karmas. And when your karmas are burnt, you can get liberation. It's a very, very important concept here. And this is also another idea which is central to Vedanta. where Vedanta says that humans inherently seek freedom, and freedom is leading to ultimate freedom is liberation, and that is very fundamental for us. The other important thing is Vedanta will emphasize, and even Krishna will say the same thing, that you can achieve liberation in this life itself. This is a misconception. People, whenever they hear the term liberation, they think liberation means I die and then I am not born again. But the point is, you don't have to die to get liberation. You can get liberation even when you are alive. You can get liberation in this life itself. And Shankaracharya has also explained this beautifully. So this concept of getting liberation when you are alive, that is the concept of Jivana Mukti. Have you heard this term, Jivana Mukti? No? Are you sure? Okay, one person has heard. Okay. I'm sure all of you have heard, but it is not registered. You have not remembered it because have you heard Bhaja Govindam, the song? So now everybody is saying yes. Okay. So in that song, 9th shloka says Satsangatve Nisangatvam
Nistangatve,
Nisangatve Nirmohatvam
Nirmohatve.
Nishchalatatvam Nishchalatatve Jivana Mukti. So the 9th shloka of Bhaja Govindam talks about Jivana Mukti. That is what Shankaracharya means by Jivana Mukti. What he says is, when we have the company of the wise or the good people, then you can develop vairagya, non-attachment. And when you have non-attachment, you can get freedom from delusion. And when you get freedom from delusion, then you will have self-knowledge. And when you have self-knowledge, you can get Jivana Mukti, which is liberation when you are alive itself. It is a very strong assurance, especially to youngsters. Youngsters should not think like, they have to grow old to evolve spiritually. And the old people should not think like, I have to die to get liberation. So they say that liberation can happen like this. Okay. When we are, when we are not evolved yet spiritually, we are like those small plants, saplings. We need a lot of support. We need protection. And then we grow into a tree. Once you are a tree, then we don't need any support or protection, Just like that, when we are growing, what is one of the best support we can get? That is the support of a satsanga. That's what Shankaracharya has said, Narad Muni has said. This is one of the reasons why we meet as a group every week. I could have just, done a podcast by myself in a corner. I could have just sent you all a recording, right? And here also we say that, interact with each other, keep the video on. All of that is because that is satsanga, and that satsanga is the support system. It is not just a physical support, it's also like a energy level support. It is happening even without you realizing that collectively when you are all together, seeing each other and learning together, the evolution is happening much faster. So that is what is the repeated message from a lot of saints. To have satsanga, and everything happens from that point onwards. So let us all believe that Jivana Mukti is possible. Let us all believe that we can get liberation in this life itself. Okay? But how long should it take? I'll let you think about that. Let you think about how long do you think it should take. I'll come to that in a minute. So in the 4th chapter, 4.34, Krishna told us to gain spiritual knowledge. So how do we get this divine knowledge? In other words, how do you develop or how do you dispel the ignorance and realize the divine knowledge? Krishna said that is where you have to seek a spiritual guru or guide and inquire with humility. This verse we have discussed earlier. Tad viddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Lakshmi ji is smiling.
Sai Ram. I always think about the chapters now where with Nana.
Upadekshayanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. There are 3 things Krishna said. I'm repeating. We learnt it in the 4th chapter, but because they are important concepts, I'm repeating here again. What are the 3 things that you should follow for acquiring this descending knowledge? One is pranipatena, approaching a guru or teacher. Second is pariprashnena, by humble inquiries. Ask questions, definitely, but don't question the teacher. Because when we are in questioning the teacher mode, that means our ego is dominant, and then it beats the whole point. Okay? And third is sevaya. Sevaya means, Krishna is not saying you have to wipe the floor of your teacher or anything. Sevaya is a mindset. It should be a mindset of service. So these three things together accelerates our acquisition of divine knowledge. If you follow this, we will be able to. So Krishna is saying, when you follow just these three things, that will help you keep you humble, and it will help you get rid of your ignorance quickly. Now we will come back to the question: how long do you think it should take us to get that aha realization and get mukti? Let us see how long you think. Okay.
It can, I think so. I might be wrong. I don't know. It can happen in a minute if you have a God's grace and that spiritual knowledge.
Okay. Excellent.
It can be
How long
like,
will it take to get the God's grace?
that depends on you when you turn down your ego and totally surrender.
So how long is it going to take you to turn down your ego and surrender?
The
That
conviction.
is,
Tell, Ekansh. Feel free.
it is the toughest thing, I guess. Turn down.
I'm just playing with you, that's all. Lakshmiji, you wanted to say something?
If you're having conviction and then you're practicing it, automatically it will come. I don't know when, or I don't know. If you're doing it, practicing it, and with the conviction, conviction means with all this, when your body, mind, soul, everything will go in one alignment. And then, even though what you're telling Jivan Mukti, cannot even realize it, because you are the Jivan and you are the Atma. And
Yeah.
I feel like,
no, you are right. You are on the point. Suchita ji, you are saying
Surrendering
something
our ego. Surrendering our ego.
very important. So as you all have given right answers, no wrong answers at all. So surrendering your ego, conviction, consistency, following Krishna's teachings, they're all there, and they're all going to help you achieve that divine knowledge. But then once the divine knowledge, once the realization comes,
the Bhava,
then it takes just it's called a shana. In a shana, it will dispel all your ignorance, and you are a jivana mukti at that point. So again, Ramakrishna, one of the reasons I like Ramakrishna's teachings is he gives some very beautiful analogies. He will give examples which are very easy to understand. So he says this very beautifully. Ramakrishna says, imagine a cave which has been in darkness for 1,000 years. Okay. So how long do you think it will take to light up that cave?
One lamp.
see what he's getting at, right? He's saying, if you light a lamp, it is going to light up the cave instantly. Does it matter how many years it was in darkness? No. So he's saying, just like that, regardless of how many lifetimes you have been ignorant, how many lifetimes we have been ignorant, if we get that divine knowledge and grace, like Ekansh said, the grace of God, if we are approaching it with the right bhava, right mindset, lack of ego, purification, consistency, when all of these are coming together, when that thing happens, it just takes a shana. In the chana, you are a jivana mukti. So that is a very assuring statement. And Krishna said this in different ways at different times. If you remember in the previous chapter, Krishna said, no matter how much of a sinner you have been, if you resolve correctly, if you get on the path of devotion, if you get on the path of self-purification, he himself has said that, you have resolved correctly. The same thing even Jesus said in the Bible, that it doesn't matter how much you have sinned, it doesn't matter how much ignorance you have been in and for how long you have been ignorant. All that matters is, are you ready today to start going in the right direction? And if you go, success is guaranteed. It's a very, very reassuring statement. So, and I would like to also provide one insight and one fact, that a lot of people, they say that they will start reading Bhagavad Gita when they feel devotion to Krishna. You might have heard this from your friends also or your relatives also. They will say that, Arey, I'm not yet feeling like it. I'm not feeling connect with Krishna. I'm not feeling devotion. So when devotion comes, when connection comes, then I will study the Bhagavad Gita. But it is the other way around. If you sincerely study the Bhagavad Gita, if you are sincerely approach it with humility and really try to grasp the knowledge there, that itself will get your devotion springing. Your connect will start forming and your devotion will come. So a lot of us, we put the cart in front of the horse and we say that it is like saying, I want evidence of God before I can have faith in God. Arey Baba, if you have faith in God, then the God will show himself. That is the evidence, right? So that is what I'm trying to bring out from all of this. So let us all continue, like Lakshmi ji said, let us be consistent. Let us have the conviction and we will all succeed. We have Krishna's assurance that we are going to succeed. So I think we are almost on time. So I've been talking a lot. If anybody has any questions, comments, you're welcome.
I have a comment.
Yes, Mitaji.
Yeah, in a Jain religion, they say something which is called as Keval Jnana. So is this Jivan Mukti somewhere related with Keval Jnana? But most of the time, this Keval Jnana was obtained by the Tirthankaras. And then it was passed down how to live life, ahimsa, and lot of other teachings to the common persons.
Okay, I don't know about Kevalanyan, so I can't comment on that, but I can say that Jivana Mukti is just the act of liberation itself. So, and it is based on divine knowledge. And when you have the divine knowledge, the liberation can happen right in this life. That is what Jivana Mukti stands for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guruji, I have like small doubt. So it's like it is what our inner nature is giving us, like what we have to actually do and what we do out of impulse, right? But I was also thinking like there are some people who make a lot of properties and who buy a lot of stuff and are is it because of their prarabdha karma, or sometime we can say like sanchita karma, or it's like, how can you say that if a person buying like 10 homes, right, and he's saying it is not like I haven't, it is also sense of ownership, right? Are you getting where I'm trying to ask?
I'm
Hello?
trying. So I'm still waiting for the meat of the question. Like,
So I was like thinking, sometimes we think I bought like 10 houses, right? There's a sense of ownership. Is it I am doing it, or it was already written that in my karmas that I will get this thing or this business or that thing?
okay. So as I said, we just discussed that notion of a destiny where everything is written is kind of flawed, because then that will absolve you of all wrongdoing, because then you can say that anything wrong I did was also written and that is why it happened. That is not how it works. Okay, so we spoke about the concept of sanskara also, I think in chapter 2 or 3, where law of karma doesn't mean that there is a police sitting outside somewhere who is catching you and saying, oh, in the last birth you did this, so this birth you have to do this. Okay, so it doesn't mean like that there is a police sitting somewhere and they are kind of catching. So what karma pretty much is impacting your own sanskara. So today if you are stealing, then you have a sanskara which will also have the opposite of being stolen from. So if you are given to stealing, you will yourself put yourself in a situation where somebody will steal from you. Okay, so I'm just giving a gist of it. So that is kind of the mechanism of karma. So it is not like it is written and somebody is enforcing. It is basically you yourself playing out your own karmas. Okay.
No, I understand that. Never do wrong. So it's like you are making money and you are making it with the right way, right? So some people are making a lot of money and some people are making less money. It's like it is also illusionary concept we can take. How well, in case if sometimes people say that that person is also doing same hard work and that person also did same hard work, but he got like a good job in the same class. Both were getting good grades, but he got like more package. It is because of destiny or
Okay. So there are two questions here. One question is, what is making us, or what is making some people go behind money? And the other question is, what is giving success to some people and not that much success to other people?
yeah.
So, yeah. So definitely there are a lot of parameters involved. What is making you seek money? That is your sanskar. Okay? That is your prakriti. That is your nature. And you need to have a, check on that. Why do you want to go behind money? Is it just greed? Is it just lobe? Is it something else? Do you have a higher purpose for that? There are a lot of things that will dictate. And all Krishna is saying is align yourself with your higher nature. Don't give in to just greed or lust for material success. So that you have to keep in mind. Outcome, definitely. This is what has been Krishna's fundamental teaching is you can never predict the outcome. The outcome doesn't depend on us. Correct? Karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Now that could be your karma, that could be somebody else's karma, that could be the karma of the entire community as a whole. There are so many things that play into that. And also it could also mean that maybe the God wants to perform some particular leela through some particular people. For that, they put that person in some particular positions of power or positions of wealth. So these things, of course, we can never formalize these things, Ekansh. So we just have to, as you said, we have to focus on aligning with our higher prakriti. We have to focus on rightful action, and then leave the rest to God.
So
I'm
it
not.
was
I'm
like
not going to. I'm not going to claim to have a magic formula that says, Ekansh, if you follow this formula, you will always make money. Or
no, it was not a question. The question was in my mind. The question was like I'm going to start a business as I talked to you, right? So there's also greed that I want to make more money. But that day you corrected me. Your intention should not be like to make money, but to give best customer service. So I thought like giving best customer service will be my motive, right? But still, when you are going to open a business, there is still something going in your mind, right? Clicking up you.
yeah, as I said, we need more one-on-ones, Ekansh.
Yeah.
Mm.
उसे खुल के बात होगी थोड़ी तो
Yeah.
खुल के आ नहीं रहा
Yes. Smita ji, you have your hands up.
Yes, Guruji, Hare Krishna.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
my I was under this impression that the gunas that the person is born with, like some of us have a lot of sattva guna, some of us have a lot of rajas. Everybody is different. That is because of the karma that we have already done. So that's why we are born with that. And I mean, that is my understanding. I mean, when Ekansh was saying that when two people in the same class, they're studying and they both worked, let's just say they put in the same effort. Like, if it could not be class, but it could be cricket or anything. A lot of people are so passionate about cricket. They invest so much time, but there's only one Virat Kohli. It is not because I'm sure everybody would have worked as hard. So is it because of the gunas that each one is endowed with already when they're born that drives them, right? Like, for example, some of us are very devotional. Like,
Yeah.
So that is the gunas that you're endowed with when you're born is basically because of the karma that you have done in previous several births. So your guna is already formed, but some of us, because we have that more sattva guna, we are trying to maybe get into a satsang or something like that because it drives us to kind of increase that. But you're born with one base, and that base is because of your karmic history, because that cannot be.
Correct.
Is that
Correct.
understanding? Okay.
Yes. So see, first of all, the actions are driven by gunas. That is what Krishna has explained in this few verses. So you are very right. we all have different combinations of sattva, tamas, and rajas. And based on that, our actions will play out. Like some people will want to teach, some will want to preach, some will want to do something else. So that part is clear. The gunas are what are driving the actions. Why you are born with certain gunas? No, that is a complicated part of the karmic science that we spoke about.
Yeah.
So we spoke about your karma itself.
Determines the gunas that you're born with. That's what I understand it as.
Exactly. I mean, that determines your gunas, your sanskaras. Like sanskaras are the deep impressions in your mind, which are created by your repeated
Birth.
and repeated actions and repeated tendencies. They create deeper impressions. And that is what you need to get out of.
Correct.
And how do we clear the gunas? That is the whole science of Bhagavad Gita that says, doesn't matter what your constitution is, what gunas you have today. The assurance Krishna gives is, if you follow his teachings with the right mindset, with consistency and conviction, we can all progress towards sattva guna and eventually rise above sattva guna also. Now, when it comes to the second part of the question on results, that is what is totally up to God, because we have like 3 types of karma we spoke, like sanchita karma, prarabdha karma, kriyamana karma. So there are many different types of karma at play here. Like one karma is your multiple lifetimes worth of karma. So one person gets a lottery in this life, So we are looking at it only from a small perspective, but there is a huge test match going on, endless.
Yeah.
So definitely the outcomes, the karmas have a big role to play there. And as I said, it is not just your karma, it is also the other person's karma which comes into play, the karma of a community that comes into play. So it's very complicated there. And that is the reason Krishna says don't focus on outcome, because it's a very complex game. And if we focus on the outcome, we will never be able to do a good job.
Correct.
So thank you for wonderful questions. Yeah.
I think they should
Guruji,
answer your
one-
question, Ishan, I guess.
Yeah. Guruji, one thing I just want to clear is means that means our free will can change our destiny or means dilute the thing. Our free will means if we do we are destined with something, but if we do some good karma, so it can change our destiny.
Exactly. See, it's like, there is a macro level destiny, there is a micro level destiny. For example, you are in a train which is going to go to Mumbai. Now, you cannot make the train go somewhere else. That is your big macro level destiny. Okay. But how is your journey? Are you enjoying the scenery? Are you having a peaceful journey? Are you fighting with everybody? The experience, that is entirely ours. And we can influence it in a big way. But more than anything, what Krishna has said is you can get out of that whole train if you want to.
I was thinking.
And that is Jivana Mukti. So you can just get out of the cycle at all, the entire cycle, and just get liberation. That is also possible.
I thought that you can mitigate it. Like, let's say if destiny, I mean, this is what I could be wrong, but this is what I understand, Guruji, please correct me, that if there is something bad has to happen, let's just assume, because that's what people are most scared of, right? Something bad. So, but if you're constantly in tune with the universe, like thinking about good things and doing good karma and everything, that bad thing cannot, because it is, I mean, that's what destiny is, right? It will mitigate a lot lesser. Like instead of something very bad, it will go in a lesser way because your current kriyamana karma will come into effect, right? And it will kind of balance that. That's what I thought. Like it will still happen, but it will be so mitigated that not like in a big sense it
I
won't.
understand. I understood the question, but I can try to explain slightly differently. Okay.
Okay.
So the purpose of your karmic reactions are to help you learn some lessons. See, because there is no universal entity who enjoys punishing you or who enjoys seeing you suffer. That is not anybody's goal. So whenever you say, I'm going through difficulty, the purpose is for you to learn something. The purpose is for purification. But if you are doing that learning yourself, using your free will, And if you are purifying yourself using your free will, then that karma, that reaction is not required. That is where it either totally goes away or it becomes very reduced. And it also can be reduced by the grace of some saints and gurus also. They can also help mitigate that part. This is how this whole thing works. I hope that makes it clear. But on the contrary, you cannot have one good deed and expect that to negate one bad deed. So this is what we explained 2 or 3 sessions ago. Like it is like, you are pouring boiling water on yourself. You got burnt. Now you are saying, now I will put ice cold water on me. No, that has to nullify that effect. And now it doesn't work like that. Because that bad action has given rise to a bad karma, and that makes you learn a different lesson. And this good action has given you a good karma, which will pay you in a different way, right? So we should never be in the mindset that I do a good karma, that means my bad karmas are getting negated. It doesn't work like that, because otherwise you will get discouraged. Sometimes you will be doing a lot of good things and you will still suffer, and you will start questioning the whole karmic science itself. I hope that makes it clear. Ekansh, one-on-one.
Okay.
Yeah.
गुरुजी 1-on-1 के लिए मेरे को वैंकूवर आना पड़ेगा या जूम कॉल पे?
भाई जब काम रहता है तो आते हो ना वैंकूवर?
Okay, done.
Okay. No, I will catch you, Ekansh. I will follow up with you. I will chat with you.
Sure, Guruji.
I really like how you never get offended with anything. I can joke with you whatever I want.
You are my guru, Guruji. So how can I get offended? I will get grace from you. Liberation path.
I think it was a good session. I hope you are all taking away something helpful, useful. So once again, I'm grateful to all of you for your association. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. See you all in the next session again.
Hare Krishna.
My Guruji.
Thank
Hare
you.
Take care.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.